Very dirty business, very dirty business. And even we bought some from NATO, and we bought some, our people bought some from Bulgaria and from NATO, and they armed themselves. And then when the Yugoslav army left Bosnia, we took it because this is made by our own taxes. This is by our money. That's why we take.
Acquits you of the following counts. Count 1, murder as a violation of the laws or customs of war pursuant to Article 3 of the statute. Count 2, cruel treatment as a violation of the laws or customs of war pursuant to Article 3 of the statute in relation to the events.
My name is Roberto Smaldore and I spent the last year investigating the involvement of foreign fighters in the Yugoslav War. This is an investigation about a neo-Nazi unit of foreigners who fought alongside the Croatians during the war. Based on an epochal footage, I will try to identify their members and find the actual location of their headquarters in Dalmatia. Their name was Groupe Jacques Doriot.
Hi! Sich! Hi! Sich! Hi!
Cleck is a small fishing village situated in Dalmatia, near the border with Croatia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. It is 70 kilometers far from Dubrovnik, and every year hundreds of tourists come there to enjoy the seaside and spend their time in one of the best spots of the Mediterranean Sea. But how many people do know that barely 30 years ago there was a neo-Nazi paramilitary unit deployed there? It is a long story that begins in 1991 with the outbreak of the war in Croatia. A reportage broadcasted by Spiegel TV recounts the deployment of the Groupe Jacques Doriot, a neo-Nazi paramilitary unit that was deployed in Cleck during the years of the war. But if we want to investigate this phenomenon, we need to take a step backwards to better understand how they came there. It is difficult to estimate the amount of foreigners who participated in the Yugoslav War. This is because in most of the cases they were not framed in specific units, and the enrollment process was not so organized. If we want to know approximately how many people joined the Croatian army and the paramilitary groups, the only numbers we can rely on are those collected by the USDDR, the Association of Foreign Veterans of the Croatian War. The last census was made by them in March 2012 and counted an overall of 514 volunteers from 37 countries. The most represented countries were the UK, France and Germany, but many other combatants came from other countries that were traditionally destination of the Croatian diaspora, like the USA, Canada, Argentina and Australia. According to what the review Reflexes reports, it was a man from the Croatian diaspora who created the Groupe Jacques Doriot. His name was Tomislav Madi, but he was also known by the nickname of Chicago, the city he came from. In November 1991, the French Michel Fassi and Nicolas Pechel began to get in touch with the HSP of Dobroslav Baraga. HSP stands for Hrvatska Stranka Prava, and it is an extreme right party founded in 1990 as the heir of the Ustasha movement, the party which led Croatia during the Second World War. The HSP was a minority party during the Yugoslav War, but it gained a reputation with the creation of a paramilitary unit named HOS. Fassi and Pechel joined the HOS, and they were assigned to the orders of Tomislav Madi, creating the Groupe Jacques Doriot. In some weeks, many French, Germans, Austrians, Belgians and British joined the Groupe Jacques Doriot, reaching around 60 to 90 members. The name of the unit exemplifies the general ideology of their members. Jacques Doriot was in fact a French politician who began his militancy in the French Communist Party. In 1934, he was expelled and founded the French Popular Party, which sustained the collaborationism with Nazism. He died in 1944 fighting on the Russian front alongside the Germans, becoming a martyr and a central figure of French fascism. Basing ourselves on the reportage from Spiegel TV, it is possible to find the actual location of the headquarters of the unit. In the footage, the TV troupe was invited to the place where the unit was based, interviewing its members and participating in a military maneuver. It is the voice of the journalist that says that the unit was deployed in Cleck. To verify this statement, we can check some of the location of the footage and verify if they correspond to the ones of the village. Thankfully, Cleck had been mapped by Google Street View, and this allows us to use this important tool to verify our task. This is an aerial image taken from the footage, and this is an aerial image taken from Google Earth. We can easily check that the shape of the village seems to be the same. The location from where this shooting was taken is a trail near the Smrdan, an archaeological site situated in the mountains above the village. It was built in the 17th century by the Venetians to control the coast. Its name means literally stinking city and comes from a legend that recounts the stink of the corpses that were used to be left by the Ottomans there after a failed siege. The archaeological site is presented in the footage since the maneuver of the unit took place there. Assured that at least part of the footage was taken in Cleck, we have now to verify the most important thing, the location of the headquarters of the neo-Nazi unit. The footage starts with a small road that goes downhill, probably to the sea. Right after that, on the left, appears what is presented as the unit's headquarters, that appears as a villa decorated with Nazi flags and insignia. If we check every road on the street view map of the village, we found out that Dubrovačka ulica is the street where the headquarters of the Nazi unit could probably stand. There is a huge coincidence between the gate and the rock wall behind it. In another part of the footage, we have a panoramic view of the villa. Of course, it has changed in 30 years, but the profiles seems to be the same. The acid test to check if this is the house we are looking for is to confront it with this photo. This is a photo found on Michel Fassy's Facebook profile. Comparing the shape of the mountains in the photo with the shape of the mountains on Google Street View, we can now be 100% sure that this is the former house of Nazi volunteers in Cleck. Surfing on Google Street View, we can also find out a little curiosity. On a wall behind what is said to be the former headquarters of the unit, there is a stencil which recites UM94. Searching on Google, we have not been able to find the same image, but we found out that UM94 is the ultras group of Zrinski Mostar, one of the most important Bosnian football clubs. Zrinski Mostar is a football club with a Croatian heritage, and it is well known that their ultras share a far-right ideology, as this article from Detector illustrates. We are not able to verify if the Ultras group was aware of the heritage of this building, but at least it's a very curious coincidence. The reportage also presents some of the members of the unit. This is Tomislav Madi, here presented as Chicago, interviewed by the journalist while he tells the achievements reached by his unit. This man, instead presented by the name of Michel, is said to be the head of the recruitment of volunteers for the group. If we confront his face with the one of Michel Fassy, it is very easy to conclude that they are the same person. Born in Paris on the 13th of April 1956, Michel Fassy, also known as Michel Leloup, is a French far-right political activist. He began his political militancy by joining GUD in Nanterre. GUD stands for Groupe Union Défense, and it was a far-right student organization formed in the 60s in France. After this experience, he joined the FANE, Fédération d'Action Nationale et Européenne, an organization founded by the French Marc Fredriksen in 1966 and dissolved twice by the government in the 80s with the charges of having the objective to establish a new Nazi regime. In Fanay, Michel Fassi was editor-in-chief of the anti-Semitic newspapers Notre Europe and Le Monde. It was in November 1991 that he went to Croatia with Nicolas Pechel, joining the Groupe Jacques Doriot. What happened to those people after the war ended? What remains in Cleck of this controversial experience? We know that Tomislav Madi, the head of the unit, was sentenced to jail for war crimes. The Croatian court found out that he participated in the murder of a Serbian family. In the night between February 17 and 18 in 1992, a commando headed by Tomislav Madi killed the Olojic family in Cerna, a village in the region of Slavonia, near Vinkovci. For 13 years, no criminal procedure had been initiated for the crimes committed against the Olojic family. It was only in 2005 that the first investigation was launched after the public had learned about this crime from a TV show. Some of the witness statements, however, showed that the competent authorities had been aware of this crime since 1992 and were even familiar with the likely perpetrators. Tomislav Madi was sentenced to a maximum prison sentence on the basis of his common responsibility. The court justified the pronounced sentence with the following statement: the accumulation of vicious energy put forward the defendant Tomislav Madi as the central figure of the committed crime. The order to execute and plunder the whole family and then blow up their house was savage and monstrous, or to put in more detailed and comprehensible words, cruel, brutal, fearsome and outrageous. He passed away in 2019. Michel Fassi otherwise had been active in the Gilets jaunes demonstrations that paralyzed France in 2018. He is still alive and claims to be the Count of Piedmont, Sardinia. Now, Cleck is a peaceful and quiet holiday resort in Dalmatia. Every year, hundreds of tourists come there to enjoy their holidays. But how many of them are aware of the controversial past of this village? Right close to the former headquarters of the Groupe Jacques Doriot, there is an apartment rented to tourists. It wouldn't have been possible to investigate such a topic without the internet and the resources we have now at our disposal. The only aims of this investigation are to highlight the usefulness of OSINT techniques to investigate war crimes, war episodes, and expose a controversial experience that hadn't been discussed so far.